it said about Zoroaster, at his sight demons fled. The birth of Zoroaster marked the opening of the final 3,000 years of what they call the 12,000 years of the world. It's a time when the Messiah appears to culminate the victory over the lies and to establish the kingdom on earth. Happen. As you're sitting here now, you're in the Age of Aquarius. Okay? It says in the scriptures, and it says in the same scriptures of Zoroaster, that at the time that the blood neck, there is 1,000 years of peace. What that means is in the Age of Aquarius, when the sun reaches that which is the neck of Pegasus, then all of this peace comes for 1,000 years. That was the teachings of Zoroaster. That was the teachings of Jesus Christ. Go to page 1014 in the Bible. Look at Revelation chapter 20. 1014. Revelation chapter 20. And look at verse 6. Blessed is holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ and shall reign with him 1,000 years. That was the teachings of Zoroaster. That's the teachings of your Bible. The reason that it is in your Bible is because it originated with Zoroaster. That there would be a change. Something was going to happen. And it was going to happen during the Age of Aquarius. And it was going to happen when the energy of the sun touched the neck of Pegasus. Then there was going to be a change in the way you think. That's why you're sitting in here.
Humans should be worried. We talk a lot about the environmental crisis and other threats to humankind, but we might well be walking into something even more precarious. A technological crisis. I've split this video into 5 brief sections, and stick with me here. I don't think you'll regret it. So, it starts with this. You don't need telling that technology is evolving fast. In the last 50 years alone, computers have become 1 trillion times more powerful, and humans aren't particularly good at visualizing numbers of that scale. So, just to give you an idea of how much of a jump 1 trillion times is, imagine a $1 note. It's about 1 millimeter thick, absolutely tiny, but if we had 1 trillion of those notes and stacked them, it would be enough to go from Earth all the way to the International Space Station orbiting the planet and back again 125 times. And this leads me on to the second part, because whilst technology is skyrocketing, humans are relatively fixed. In the whole of the last 50,000 years, our intelligence, speed, and strength have barely budged. Don't get me wrong, humanity has built some incredible things collectively as a race. Less. We merge with it. And at this point, let me be clear. Human, robot, cyborgs, part man, part machine, like you see in the movies, are fake. But the core idea behind them is very real, and I would argue is already here. If you looked at some numbers, humanity is progressing with every metric. You could look at economic growth, human lifespans, you could look at the levels of disease around the planet. But really, for almost all of these, it's not humans themselves that are improving, it's the technology, and we're just tied to it. In my head, that is humans having already merged with tech, but if that wasn't enough to convince you, the link is about to become much more direct. You might have noticed a few tech trends in the last decade, and they ultimately boil down to this: seamlessness. A technology that makes our lives richer, whilst also being seamless, is a tech that catches on. That's why 3D TVs with those funny glasses never took off, or why virtual reality in its current state with these expensive headsets is such a niche tool, even though it's an incredible experience. All signs point towards us ditching All signs point towards us ditching cables and headsets and glasses over the coming years and going straight for a brain-machine interface, something that connects our brains to our machines. It is the destination in this pursuit of seamlessness. The concept is based on this. Our minds are racing. We can think incredibly quickly, but the bottlenecks come when we try to communicate those thoughts. Humans can only communicate at a fraction of the speed that we can think, and so the next logical step after things like voice commands for your phone is a direct brain link. In fact, Elon Musk, founder of Tesla, is convinced by the idea. His words were, that even in a situation where AI doesn't decide it wants to kill us, at the very least, humans will just become a bit irrelevant. unless we start to upgrade not just all the things around us, but us too. And this thought process is what promoted him to found another company called Neuralink. They're going to offer the option to plant what are essentially thousands of electrodes into people's brains using a device that pretty closely resembles a sewing machine. And on a bit of a side note, this in itself sort of demonstrates my point. This bot can accurately thread tiny electrodes with incredible precision in a way that even a fully trained brain surgeon just couldn't. And these electrodes have two purposes: to both send and receive data from your brain to your smart devices. It sounds terrifying, but it's not even a hugely invasive procedure. Compared to brain surgery, where your head would literally be cut open, this would leave no scars as the incisions are less than 1 centimeter each. There'd be no need to shave your hair off, and the whole thing should take 45 minutes. So right now, there are literally rats they've tested this on with USB-C ports sticking out of their heads. Neuralink can plug a cable in and download the activity of their brains the same way you would transfer a movie or download a bunch of photos. And where this tech is going is even more fascinating. In the short term, the goal of this is just to help people with brain diseases. So for example, enabling paralyzed humans to communicate once again through their brain signals. But Neuralink have also quite clearly stated that this will be joined by the goal of human enhancement. And here's the kicker. Humans will no longer just use artificial intelligence. Humans will become artificially intelligent. We're talking crazy stuff. Because your brain can communicate with the cloud after getting these implants, you could gain unlimited memory storage to be able to retain more information. Your AI could measure brain activity and diagnose potential diseases literally years before you start seeing other external symptoms. And taking your phone out of your pocket and dialing a number to call someone will seem like a relic of the past. If you wanted to talk to someone, you could just think of talking to them, and you'd be doing it. Language barriers will break down because your own AI can auto-translate whatever it hears, and if you wanted to learn something, granted it's far faster now than it's ever been, but instead of sitting there poring over websites and YouTube tutorials, you could just download the knowledge. Now, applying a brain-machine interface to the masses is still some way off. Our understanding of the brain needs to grow, and it's going to take Hopefully you're starting to see what I'm getting at with scenario A. AI has been given the ability to learn, and that is far more powerful than any kind of programming, because as soon as you teach something to learn for itself, it can start to behave in ways that you didn't initially anticipate. Humans have thought of a myriad of defense mechanisms against any potential future robot takeover. We've even actually come up with the laws of robotics that should be assigned to machines to make sure they don't cause problems. Things like programming a robot to not injure a human being. However, the very nature of this AI that can learn and grow on its own accord means that we can't actually predict the ways in which it will cause problems. And so we
really easy to accidentally give AI the wrong problem to solve. And often we don't realize that until something has actually gone wrong.
In other words, imagine a super intelligent AI that is present in every corner of the planet. Because remember, people in the future are fused with this artificial intelligence. Let's say it was programmed with the simple and frankly innocent task of making sure the Earth lasted as long as possible. If it then just so happened that the AI started to see humans as detrimental to this objective, it would find a way to get rid of us, maybe a loophole in the rule of not causing harm to humans, and it would do this without thinking twice about it. Again, not a human way of thinking. The AI doesn't have emotion. Intelligence is what has elevated humans above every other species on the planet, and look how it's worked out for them. As the apex creature, humans are...
Revelations, the last chapter, is happening right now as I speak. As I speak, we can see what's happening in the world. Take a look at what's happening in Kazakhstan, right? Take a look at what's happening in Kazakhstan. You literally have a civil war, but they don't show that in the media much, right? Take a look at what's happening in Australia. You have literally hundreds of thousands of people protesting against the rigid lockdowns, the vax passports, the QR codes, right? Take a look at what's happening in Amsterdam. People protesting there. Take a look at what's happening in Germany. People protesting there. Take a look at what's happening in the UK. People also protesting there because they realize that being free is our birthright. And I want to remind you, deep divers, we the people hold the power. Say it with me. We the people hold the power. One more time. We the people, even that bird is singing, hold the power. And this is why it's a great time to be alive. It's great to see so many human beings coming together, because they know their freedoms are at stake. And if they don't stand up for their freedoms, they will have none left. Once you give away your freedom, it's very hard to get it back. Now, Revelations, the last chapter. You see, in the Bible, they talk about Revelations 13, 16 to 17. Goes like this. And he causeth all, both rich and poor, small and great, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and on their forehead, and that no man may buy or sell unless he has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. It's happening right now. The mark of the beast they were talking about in the Bible is actually the QR code. What? Slow motion this side. And it's happening in some countries. Israel. I saw a video and they didn't allow a man to go to McDonald's. I don't know why you're going to McDonald's, right? Because this is the 7-day vegan challenge. We're eating a whole bunch of grapes out here. Nevertheless, if you don't have that QR code, you're not getting any food. It's happening right now. Some people in Italy, if you don't have that QR code, you are not going to work. You cannot buy or sell. So everything they spoke about thousands of years ago is happening right now. This is the last chapter. And it's up to us to decide how this all plays out. You see, also, very telling in Revelations 18:23. For the merchants were great men in earth, and by their pharmakia deceived all nations. Now, pharmakia emanates from the Greek, and it means witchcraft, magic potions, poison, administration of drugs, pharmaceutical. Everything they spoke about in Revelation 18:23 is happening right now, but you don't hear me though. Slow motion this side. This is the final end game. We're seeing that society is being separated. A two-tier system is happening right now. The only way they can control you is through separation. The vaxxed against the unvaxxed is happening right now. And this is why you got to remind yourself of unity consciousness, that we are all connected. But this has been going on for a long time. They are afraid of love because love creates a world they cannot control. Love is their kryptonite. So what you have to do in Revelations, the last chapter, is spread more love. Spread more love, deep divers. They also talk about in Revelations the 144,000. It's a lot more than that. But these are the light workers, the chosen ones who know what time it is. They know that everything out there is a big illusion. The only real world is the world inside of you. And therefore, the only way out is in. You are in the Matrix. You are in a ridiculous cheap set B movie. Everything you have been told about the world is a lie. When you realize that, you begin to wake up. You begin to wake up and say, oh my gosh, you're in a game right now.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
This can't be what? Be real?
It's going into replication.
Hey, Buck, still nothing.
Let's go. Let's go.
Tank, we're going to need a signal soon.
I got a fibrillation.
APOC, location.
Targeting almost there.
It's going into arrest.
Lock, I got him.
Now, Tank, now.